They should work out okay. They're preparing to live stream, but I think we are live right now. So Martin, you've been on the GoldFish Report before. You've spoken about these systems in the past. You've spoken at length about uh, things like equity and um, other types of, let's say, systems. So why don't I just let you go right ahead and go into, we are live. So hi, everyone. We're live on YouTube. We didn't pre-announce this, but we, have, as everybody knows, I was trying to test my live stream earlier. We had some issues, and I think we have it all worked out now. So Martin, again, I'm going to just reiterate, because we went live after I introduced the program. Martin is a systems researcher. We've known Martin for a long time on the GoldFish Report, and he's going to be discussing a system that our founding fathers put in place for us called the Declaration of Independence, and how it's actually a direction for us to follow if we are to retain our liberty. So this is a fascinating topic, Martin. I'm so glad that you're here to present this. You opened my eyes and taught me so much. So the floor is yours, my friend.
All right. Well, this thing that's going on in Congress now and everything with all these things that are happening, it really fits exactly what the Declaration of Independence was set up for. Because if you remember right, the founding fathers,
Okay.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, actually, I just turned up the volume. Go ahead.
Okay.
It's better.
Founding fathers had the same problems we're having. And here's the things that we're having. Right now, we're having this thing called the rule of law. Well, people think, okay, that law is for us. Well, it is for you if you're not aware of any other law. And that's what they've tried. If you go back into the scriptures, and a lot of this, what I'm talking about, is based in scripture. And a lot of it's based on Latin. Okay. In the scriptures, there's a part in there that talks about woe ye lawyers, how you hide the jurisdiction and don't use it yourself, and how you're fooling, I'm paraphrasing, but how you're fooling everybody else. And that's what they've done. See, when the Declaration of Independence was formed, there was a group of people in the Americas that wanted independence. But there was also a group of people who wanted to stay ruled by the king because they liked the comfort of the king. They liked what the king wasn't bothering them. But these people that wanted freedom, the king was bugging. He's crashing down their doors and taking their stuff and rummaging through everything. So they come up with this Declaration of Independence. Well, these guys are very knowledgeable people when it comes to law. And they realized that the law that they were following, the rule of law, was the king's rule. So what they said, well, no, we don't want to follow a king's rule. That's law of man. It's a law that was written by man for man, which is if you look, sorry, I didn't mean to go out of the screen, but I have this paperwork here. One of the great guys I like to listen to is Samuel Adams, and he said this one, really a couple of quotes here I'm going to read to you. It says, "The natural liberty of man is to be free from any superior power on earth, and not to be under the will or legislative authority of man, but can only have the law of nature for his rule." Well, here's what's happened. The rule of law that they were trying to get away from was the King of England, because they were tired of being under his thumb. They were far enough away from him. They figured that he couldn't claim this land, that they should be able to claim the land they needed and use it and be farmers and be self-sufficient. So what's happened is those people that wanted to be ruled by the king have now invaded into our Congress and now want to make our legislature, which is the House of Representatives, as a parliamentarian type of legislature, not a republic type legislature. So instead of out here having the rule of law by the king, we have the rule of law by Congress. Congress is setting the rules. And what's a rule? Something that can be changed. But under the Declaration of Independence, it's under natural law. If you read the Declaration, the very beginning, can you put up the screenshot of the Declaration? I'll show you something.
Oh, yeah, fast. I can screen share that.
because we're going to go down to the Declaration of Independence. I'm going to show you how this document was written for your independence. And it's not just for our independence, for anybody listening to this around the world. Mm-hmm. You can utilize this document and create your own independence by the same way they created the one they did for us. And it's really, it says right here, when in course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands. Isn't that what our problem is right now? We have these, it's almost like we have shackles around our legs, and we're bound up by a political system that won't allow us to move freely. And so it's these bands that have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth a separate and equal station. What's your station? To the laws of nature and nature's God entitled them. That's the way this document was written, under the laws of nature, under the rule of the Creator. And the one thing, it's funny, when somebody a long time ago, when I first started to search stuff, the thing you have to learn is this is a document that portrays your independence, but you have to have a way of protecting that independence once you claim this independence. This wasn't the only document they had that they created. They created trusts. They created these things called blind trusts, and they all was under a blind trust. So the simple part of this was you had to have the basics first, then you could make this declaration. And
isn't this a trust, though, Martin? I'm sorry.
No, this is not a trust. What this is the instructions. This is like the indenture of a trust. This is the instructions you're to follow if you're going to go under the independence trust that these people all had. If you read down to the bottom of this, scroll down to the bottom. This is a part that most people don't. Down here where they signed it.
How far? All the way down?
Bottom.
All the way down?
Yeah, okay, not quite that far. Go up a little bit. So right here,
okay,
it says, where thereunto the representatives of the United States in Congress, General Congress number, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intent is due in the name, now listen to this, in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies. Authority. See that word authority?
Right.
So when they set up, and if you look at go back to the top, and it talks about government at the top of the Declaration of Independence, it says that governments are established.
Where? Which paragraph are you?
The very second paragraph, about the middle of the second paragraph, where it talks about
such a government.
Governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. So you have to consent to be governed.
Boom.
Right? Mm-hmm. What is the first thing they teach you to do when first thing they come out here and ask you to do? Well, register to vote. You need to register to vote. Well, when you register to vote, now you said, oh, I want to be subject to the congressional rules. I want to vote in this election and elect somebody to this government entity, this political bind, right? So now you've said, oh, I want to be subject to that. By just registering to vote, it's the simplest thing to do, register to vote. Right. These people knew that the only government they needed was the government the Creator had given them. And I'll go back to the story I started to talk about when I discovered the trust arrangement that I had with the Creator. And it was interesting because at that time I'd had knee problems, and I was studying this thing called matrix energetics. And it's where you go in your mind and you go back in time in your mind to a point where, like, say your knee is hurting, and you go back in your mind and you think about a time before that, what it felt like, and then your mind helps to, this is an old Egyptian, really old medicine type thing. And you're supposed to be able to make your mind, the tendons and stuff in your knee or whatever is causing the pain, to realign itself. So I started thinking, okay, let's go back in my mind. When was the first trust arrangement I probably got involved in? And at that point, I'd realized I probably was out here in the universe as a thought with electricity. Okay.
Martin,
yeah.
Excuse me, we have this is what I love about live. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
No, it's fine.
we do have some comments from our viewers in the chat. We have Elizabeth, we see your message there. Self-governing counties gives the people their voices and a way to express themselves. Um, I think you might mean countries or counties. Can you clarify that,
No, no,
Elizabeth?
she's right. She's right because
Okay, okay, go
what
ahead.
the founding fathers set up
Okay,
were the county law form, but it starts
right.
at the home. This is the thing that the whole point was with the self-governing part starts at the home as an individual. You learn how to govern yourself. You learn the rules under the Declaration of Independence, and then you expand to find someone else who knows those rules. Then you bind together as a body politic. This is
Yes.
why I say that the republic is upside down because representatives come to you with their agenda of how they think that things should be when it should be the other way around where you set an agenda and then find somebody as a representative you want to go out and express that agenda and find out how to make that agenda work for the people they represent. So it's backwards. And we've allowed this backwards stuff to happen. So this is right. But it needs to start in the home first, becoming self-sufficient, becoming self-reliant, becoming self-governing, because that's what the Declaration of Independence is about. It's about liberty. What is liberty? The definition of liberty. Mm-hmm. Without government. That is why liberty is so important. And I'll go back to another quote. Mm-hmm. This is one by Samuel Adams. He says, if you love wealth greater than liberty, the tranquility of servitude greater than the animating contest for freedom, go home from us in peace. We seek not your counsel, nor your arms. Crouch down and lick the hands that feeds you. May the chains set lightly upon you, and may prosperity forget that you are our countrymen. That was said to all the people who wanted to be ruled by the king. Go ahead, go back and be ruled by the king. We don't need you. We can do fine as self-governing body collectively. Mm-hmm. So if you and this document, this is a living document. It's not a trust. What it is, it's a bill in equity.
This is, you're talking about the Declaration of Independence.
Declaration of Independence is a bill in equity. And what a bill in equity is, it's under equity jurisprudence, especially exclusive equity jurisprudence.
That's important to distinguish, though.
Yes, exclusive is very important because that's for the individual. This is back what Aristotle was teaching back there in the days of Socrates and Plato and those guys. He was saying, hey, what about the independents? How come we're creating cities and councils and critical? What about the independent people who really don't want to get involved in being a part of an assembly? Who want to be, they want to come in, be able to say their piece and go back out on their farm or go back out to their land or whatever and live in peace. But they still want to make sure that their needs were heard, right? And that's where the notary came in. You'd have a notary who go and make an announcement. So
right. Okay, we have a viewer who, Elizabeth again, who's talking about, she says, right, town hall comes after the homes. So she says she's going to, okay, thank you. She's going to send some info to me on what she studied. This is great. So I'm sorry to, see, Martin does want this interaction. So this is great. I don't know how many, let me see how many viewers we have in here. 41, 42 watching now. So we'll pick up on the numbers as we go along. Just so everyone knows, Super Chat is open for anyone who wants to contribute and donate. They're always appreciated to help support the channel and the research work that we've all done and that we're sharing. So that you can, just so that you know that. But I put the email in there to the goldfishreport@gmail.com. And thank you, Elizabeth. I can't wait to see the information that you, right. She says that is why you have town halls, then the assemblies are established. Oh, I know a few things about town hall meetings.
Yes, statutory town hall meetings, not equitable ones.
Oh boy, here comes the really complicated terms. Okay. Now, honestly, this is stuff, I'm telling you, people who research this are phenomenal. It's amazing. Like Martin, he's just like a library of information. And, it's a system, as he said, and he's a systems researcher. So these are systems. This is huge, this whole thing about the Declaration. Yeah, here's Daniel. I got my full faith and credit. Thank you, Winston. Oh, knowledge is power. And half the truth. It's the proper application of knowledge is the full truth. It's true. And we do miss Winston. We certainly pray for him.
Winston was great because Winston taught you commerce. If you wanted to run a business, and that was another thing that you had to understand is how businesses worked. You see, Jefferson had a great quote, and there's two lines at the end of this quote that seems to be never be published. And it was the one where he talks about that standing armies or national banks are more dangerous than standing armies. And I'm paraphrasing again, that the land will be taken from the generations that forefathers fought for. But there's a line at the very last, two lines that they don't seem to publish. And it says that the issuance of currency should be taken from the national banks and returned to the people where it belongs. If you think about it, by the time Andrew Jackson killed all the banks and the time the Federal Reserve established in 1913, we were the most prosperous nation on the planet. We were building railroads. We were building factories. We were building.
No, go finish your sentence because I'm going to comment to you on that.
I'm just saying we were building. We were going down by, because what we were doing was we were dealing with private bills of exchange amongst each other, because the founding fathers realized we are all partial owners of the universe. If you go back to the scriptures again, what does it say? My kingdom is your kingdom. Right. What the founding fathers realized was we were under a usufruct.
Yes.
Definition of a usufruct.
I bet Elizabeth knows about that, don't you, Elizabeth? Because she seems really smart. She's got a lot of information she's got there. Usufruct. Oh, go ahead. Talk about
definition of a usufruct is the use of someone else's property as long as you don't do damage or cause harm. That was and the founding fathers set up a stewardship. They knew they were all stewards of the universe and partial owners. So they could use private bills of exchange and collateralize them by their partial owner of the universe. So when they set up the original government for the liberty people, not the government was established to govern the people who wanted to be governed, who wanted to be led around. But the people who didn't want to be led around, they wanted to be able to use the government as their treasury. Because here's what happened. You had a bunch of farmers out here.
Right.
And you were being attacked by the English. And they said, look, we can't keep leaving our farm and going out here and fighting these different battles and then go back to our farms, and our farms are collapsing. So we need to create a government and a standing army just to make sure that we can keep the English from overrunning us. Yeah. So they went to these founding fathers and they said, hey, we need you guys to set up a government for us that is fair, just, and right, which is equity. But the founding fathers said, well, that means we have to leave our farms and go in and collectively create this government you want created. What do we get for it? Mm-hmm. And the farmer says, we will, what does it say? We will pledge our land in our honor, and you can monetize that and create the revenue you need to run your government. And any excess you could put in the treasury for us to use and split up amongst us if we needed. Well, they were all self-sufficient farmers. So they really had no use for the monetary things that were being created by the government at that time for the treasury. So what happens is that treasury kept building up. And under equity, there's a thing called special deposit. The treasury was established under a special deposit for the people. That means that nobody can touch it except for someone who is one of the people. Go back to that, and under the Declaration, it says, by the authority of the good people. Right. Those are the people that treasury is sitting there waiting for. It's still there. But here's the thing. Here comes the bankers says, how do we get our fingers on that money? There's a whole lot of money. We need to get our fingers on that. Well, they couldn't touch it. So what they did, they tried setting up national banks and charging you interest and charging you all these different things. And here comes Jackson saying, no, we don't need banks. We have a treasury. If you're one of the people, you don't need a bank. You deal, and think about it. I don't know how many people have ever heard this, but there's a thing called Treasury Direct. Does anybody know how to use it? A lot of people tried. A lot of people got in trouble. Right. That's a bad thing because they don't understand.
No, always finish your sentence. When I put my finger up, I just want to try to address.
I just thought you're checking the wind.
You have a beautiful little boy behind you.
Uh-oh, is he back there?
Yeah, it's your grandson.
Yeah.
And, So Elizabeth is saying there is a republic form of governance for the people and the federal, which has only 19 enumerated services. They are two separate things reserved for us, we the people. That's why the counties are so important. Oh, I know the counties are important. You're right. Did you want to comment on that, Martin, or is there something you want to add to that?
Well, the main thing is, yeah, the counties are important, but first you have to be independent in order to make those counties work. They don't get recognized if you got a bunch of people who aren't independent. They think, oh, well, here comes a bunch of voters. They made a new county. They think they're going to come and overrun us with all their ideas, and it doesn't work because you first have to establish your independence to show that you're one of the good people with the authority granted for the government. The whole point is the good people should be setting the agenda for this government because good people wouldn't cause harm to other people. Good people would establish agendas that were good for everyone, not just a select few.
So not the other way around. So
exactly.
It's not government setting the agenda and policies for the people.
And telling you how to act.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you know, Martin, there's a lot of people that don't want to take that responsibility. It's sad, but
and there you go. There's the two separate people again. People who want to be ruled by the rule of law and the people who want to set the law. There's a difference between the rule of law and the law.
Okay, Daniel has a question. Is the Hall of Records the true seat of government?
The true seat of government is where you're sitting your butt because you're government. It's not about true seating. It's about reestablishing the government. See, this is the thing.
But I mean, I think it was a literal question, though, as how
I know, but the whole thing is self-governance is how you establish government for the people, not for the people who want to be ruled, the people who want to set the agenda, for the people who want to be consented. I want to consent to be governed. Fine, you can be out there. I want to rule my own kingdom. I want to have control. I want to be able to have these different, learn the system, the legal system, learn the medical system, learn the monetary system, learn these systems. I always ask this question to everybody I talk to. I said, listen, would you create a system that would not benefit you? Do you not think the people who created these systems set them up to benefit them? So why don't you learn how the system was to benefit the creator of that system and make it benefit you?
Elizabeth says, right. So there's a way to do this. We have unincorporated business trusts that sets us up without federal monies, called pure trusts or common law trusts.
Blind trust. Exactly.
Blind trust. Right.
And
okay. So one is actually, I don't know. There's some confusion over one's called statutory trust and one is not. Is that correct?
Statutory trust is when it says it's governed by the rules of the state of whatever you're living in.
Okay.
Now, if you're going to do a blind trust, you want to have the proper jurisdiction for liberty, and that's exclusive equity jurisprudence that rules your trust.
Elizabeth is saying, yes, yes, yes. That was very good. I'm glad this is great, Martin. You were getting people to interact that know this. And Daniel Luvano, he wants to know that the Hall of Records, the true seat of government. And I think he's talking about, yes, on the county level. That's where the Hall of Records is. Isn't that correct? If it's on the county level, is that?
Let me ask
Daniel if that's exactly the question that you're asking.
Okay, yeah. What is his definition of Hall of Records? That's probably what I need to understand.
Okay.
In order for me to answer the question.
He can hear you. I don't have to repeat the question.
Okay.
This is going good because this is our real first live interactive like this. So
I want this to go viral because we can use this declaration to get back our liberty. We have to first understand what it means to be liberated.
Right.
So the whole thing is that treasury we have sitting there.
Right.
We don't have to access that treasury. Everybody thinks, we have to go in there and we have to get all the funds out of that treasury and put them on our own trust. No, people. Simple. You show you have a claim as a partial owner of that treasury. After you've established you're one of the people, one of the people who have the authority that established the government, one of the good people, one of the people who, again, I never finished my story about my trust. When I first discovered the very first trust I got involved in is when I was in the universe and I seen this planet down here And I went to the creator and I says, hey, I'd like to go down there and get one of those bodies. And I'd like to try that experience. Could I do that? And he says, well, I only got one issue. Okay. Everything out here I created. These are all my creations. Everything, that body, that's my creation too. Right. So we have to create a trust arrangement. And that arrangement is you go down there and don't cause any harm and don't do any damage and leave it better than when you arrived. So I said, hey, I can do that. No problem. Let me out of here. Next thing I know, pop, I was born. That shows that the trust arrangement was then executed. Everybody has the same trust arrangement on the whole planet. Every person that was born agreed to the same trust arrangement to come down here, not to cause harm, not to do damage, and leave it better than when you arrived. That's a usufract.
Oh, that's the usufract. Oh, man, it's so brilliant. Daniel says, yes, that's where I claimed my positions. I think we have some Winston followers in our viewers. Yeah.
Well, that's how you and I got together, through John. Remember, I went to Winston, met John, then he introduced me to you.
Okay, Mike, MD has asked, either or both of you familiar with the publication's Law of Nations?
Yes, yes. That is a very important law that needs to be followed. But it's a long and lengthy law, not like exclusive equity jurisprudence. Now, remember, exclusive equity jurisprudence was taught by the major law for people here. Joseph Story. Who's Joseph Story? Joseph Story is on the Supreme Court doors. Boom. Right when you walk in the door, there's this plaque, Joseph Story. John Pomeroy. Who was John Pomeroy? Oh, he was a Stanford professor out in Stanford. And what did he teach? Exclusive equity jurisprudence. He has a quote in one of his treatises. It says, in 150 years, the courts won't even recognize exclusive equity jurisprudence. Guess what, people? I've taken exclusive equity jurisprudence, and so has the lady sitting in front of you. And look what the courts do to us. Oh, is that one of those conspiracy theories? Oh, is that one of those crap? Where'd you get that from? That doesn't have no meaning. Well, maybe it doesn't have any meaning in your world, but it has meaning in the liberated world. That's what the Declaration is. It's your instructions on how to operate in the world with liberty and justice for all. Where have we heard that before?
Very nice. We have also, I noticed that Mike has spelt his name with all lowercase letters.
And why is that? Does Mike understand what that means?
I think he does. I'll let him answer. Yeah. So we have Arba. Peace and love beam to all. Peace with you, GoldFish. Oh, thank you, Arba. She's, I think, in Hawaii. So aloha to you. And yeah,
love,
Daniel.
Positive energy.
Yeah, Daniel says ho'oponopono. So absolutely, we talk about that all the time on GoldFish Report. You guys know that. Yeah. So this is good stuff. This is so exciting, Martin. I'm so glad that you're here to do this with me for the first time on GoldFish Report, because what a great topic. Yeah, Daniel says, I sold securities for 24 years. I found my account through the Fidelity funds. Interesting, because the Fidelity.
Okay, Daniel.
Go ahead.
I got a question for you, Daniel. Do you know any SPVs?
All right, you'll see. Wait, give him a chance to respond to that. Yeah. So SPV. There's great stuff. These are great.
You know what an SPV is? You ever had a foreclosure? You know what an SPV is?
I never had a foreclosure. Thank God.
Special purpose vehicle.
Ah. Well, this is what.
That's something the founding fathers set up, but people don't understand it.
Merci. Natalia, Natalie, is it? No. Natalie Rivet. Okay, Daniel says is. Oh, okay, I think he's not done with his question. Uh-oh, Elizabeth says she's being locked out. Well, you know, YouTube's not our best friend. They deleted.
When you start talking about liberty.
Right.
Think about it.
Is that the same as a QSEP? Daniel's asking.
No.
Okay.
No.
72 watching right now. We have 72 viewers watching right now. And as I said, as we go on, there'll be more people who will pick this up, as the topic is the Declaration of Independence as our instructions of how to retain our freedom, our liberty rather. And, you know, it's basically, like you said, an agreement. Amen to
Arrangement,
that. Arrangement,
It's a trust arrangement,
a
not
trust
an
arrangement.
agreement, because an agreement is a contract.
Ah,
Got to see. This is a problem. This is the thing that people have to learn is the language. The wordsmithing out here is atrocious. How they
okay.
twist things around and make you think this is that when it's really not nothing.
Okay, so my point was you were discussing the issue of money and how the Treasury was set up for us to use, and how that's been what we haven't talked about is how that has been, I mean, not in any detail, hijacked from us. As you
No,
mentioned, the
no, it's
Treasury,
not. See,
yes, it
it is
has.
the thing. Stop putting the
Hold
negative
on,
energy in it. It's not
hold on.
hijacked.
Just
It's
one
not
second.
hijacked.
But what I'm saying is that Trump is going to correct this. He's going to be issuing a new, we're all going to go back to the gold standard. So we are printing currency from our treasury, treasury. Yes,
They
we are.
can't. They can't.
We are.
They can only use it as collateral, like I want to use it as collateral for our own private use. They can't issue money from the Treasury. Treasury is set for the people.
I know.
Okay.
But versus the Federal Reserve, it's all the only comparison I'm making here. That's an even worse situation. But
even at that, if you still don't have
transition.
self-governance in the monetary system, you're still going to be controlled by some other entity telling you how to have monetary stability.
Right. And there's a lot of people who still need that, to be honest. I mean,
well,
but for those who don't need it, we should be able to write our own bills of exchange, right? And sadly,
you know how easy it is to write a bill of exchange?
Yeah, but look, they don't want you doing that.
No.
Winston
you haven't set the groundwork up. Here's the thing.
He did.
The groundwork has to be established. I know Winston did a lot. And that's why he's where he's at its point, because he was so close on the edge, so verged, but he missed a couple of elements. And he was just learning exclusive equity just before they nabbed him. He's been studying exclusive equity. And if he'd had that jurisprudence in his head, he wouldn't be where he's at right now.
Right. Hold on a second. Right. Clearly it's not an ideal scenario that we're living under, but I'm just explaining how we have to step by step make a transition. We can't just go cold turkey.
Right.
People aren't ready for it. Right. So, yeah.
Do you have a Black's Law handy?
No.
I don't. Mine's no. I don't. Anyway, there's a definition in Black's Law called the closed account. And a closed account is an account that remains open but no longer accepts deposits or withdrawals and is open for set off. Set off is where you have something over here that's an amount that you're setting, an amount you're writing off against. Well, you have this treasury over here. And if you use a closed account, now, I don't want nobody to do this because you're not set up. You haven't got to foundations in order to do this. You could do this. I've done it, but I also got a notice from the Federal Reserve says, please cease and desist. Do not do this any longer because you don't have authorization to do this. It's not that I was doing it wrong. It's that I didn't have the authorization. I hadn't established what it was needed to get recognition as to being the steward of that account.
Well, we also have Sean David Morton, who happens to be in prison right now as well, who knew how to access his account and actually accessed quite a bit of money from that account. And when they wanted,
and that's why he's where he's at now, because again, he didn't have authorization, but under exclusive equity, the whole point is you have to learn the rules of exclusive equity. One of the major rules of exclusive equity is equity will not aid a volunteer. That means you have to be self-governing. If you volunteer, see, I had this thing I wrote. Let me see. I sent to Louisa, and I wrote this.
Okay, Arba says Black's Law is a dictionary used by our courts for those whom do not know. Yes, okay, exactly. Cestui qui vi trust. Yeah.
If you want to study the law, you want to study Bouvier's laws. You want to study the earlier guest said something about the law of nations. Yeah. Those are the types of laws you want to study. Here's the problem. I'm going to point out that we have right now. It says that well, I'm just going to read what I wrote. I wrote, this republic is upside down. The elected officials do not come to the people with an agenda to get elected in true republic. In a true republic, the people assemble in small groups, being your neighbors, discuss what they want done to improve their lives, set an agenda, then elect a representative to find out how to make it happen. The problem here is society has been taught to be enabled. In a true republic, each member is taught to be self-reliant first, so the issues become small and easy to manage. Today, the issues have gotten way out of hand to manage, so when the few people who do assemble are the ones with major issues that are too large for a few elected officials to be able to get under control, so they play kick the can to the next generation. So now so when that generation sees that this has been the game for many generations and says we are no longer going to kick that can, we are going to address these issues. They are so large that not enough representatives that know the answers, that can act in the manner that the founding fathers established and utilized to create the one true founding document that is the instructions for each and every one on this planet to be independent, self-governing. We stopped reading that document, learning the instructions, teaching it to others. They established the people's law, exclusive equity, but we allow ourselves to be enabled by lawyers. They established the People's Bank, Treasury Direct, but we allow ourselves to be enabled by Federal Reserve bankers. They established the people's form of government, a republic, but we allowed ourselves to be enabled by politicians. They promoted the people's education system, family, but we allowed ourselves to be enabled by school teacher. All of these things, all these different titles that we have allowed to enable us have one thing in common. They promote to know better than you as to what your needs and wants are. Star Trek had it right. The Borg are coming to assimilate you into the collective, the largest conglomerate ever created in the universe. You can stop this by learning the instructions left by your founding fathers. It's not too late. How do you get rid of and see, it's Declaration of Independence. Can you put the Declaration back up again?
Yeah. You want the transcript of it, right?
Because I want to read something right there, because it says right in there. I already read it once, but let's reread it again.
Okay. And then we get that page back up. Okay. We're not going to see the chat while we're screen sharing this. So if people have a message.
We'll go fast.
It's okay. If people have a message, you might have to wait until we take the screen share off. Go ahead.
So it says, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate equal stations to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them. Decent respect to the opinions of mankind require that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. This is what the Declaration does. All the way, lists all. This is a complaint, basically an equity. It's when you go to court and you file a complaint, that is a statutory complaint. This is an equitable complaint. This was given to the King's Court of Exchequer.
I can't draw a very good straight line. I'm trying to. This is what you just read, right, Martin?
Yeah.
Right here. Okay.
So then what does it say?
I'm not very good at drawing straight lines. I should erase this. Wait a minute. I really wanted to use undo. Okay, I got to undo it because I'm not drawing a straight line here.
See, here's the thing. It says, when they institute new government, laying its foundation in such principles as organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, to the dictate that governments long established should not be charged for light transient causes. And according to all experiences has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable.
Sorry.
But the one thing it says in here, what do you do? What do you do when a government becomes corrupted? It says in here, you have the right to reestablish a new government. What the problem is, in my opinion, is that we focus on taking apart somebody else's creation instead of creating something that is competitive and out competing that corrupted system. How do you get rid of a corrupted system? It's just like, how did Walmart get rid of most of the mom and pop stores?
Right.
They outcompeted it. We should go back to this system that was created by our founding fathers and outcompete the corrupted system, the cesspool that they call Washington, D.C., and take back our house, which is the Capitol. They can keep that White House. That White House is corrupted. It's going to take years. We should reestablish the people's house, which is the Capitol.
Okay.
But it's the same thing. Our founding fathers gave us everything we need to outcompete any other system on the planet. Going back to when we were talking about the Treasury and how we use the Treasury in its proper form for the people. We use it as collateral to write private bills of exchange that are negotiable. The guy that did securities, he knows all about negotiable instruments. If you create an instrument that's negotiable, you could put 50% back into the Treasury and 50% into your pocket. Do you need to work anymore? Or you could work at what you want to work at because you have an income coming in from your negotiable instrument. Mm-hmm. Founding fathers set this all up. It's right there in front of you.
Right.
Learning how to defend it.
That's it, Martin. That's the key. The key is people recognizing that it's time when it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, to assume among the powers of the earth this separate and equal station. They have to recognize, here we are, we've arrived. It's time.
It's
right?
time to create the new system. It's time to go back. It's not really create. It's trying to bring this forward. Mm-hmm. Time to bring this forward right now. Mm-hmm. And so right now, this Declaration of Independence was written for the King of England. Maybe we should write one for the Congress and say, wait a minute, hold on. Mm-hmm. No. There's a Latin phrase I learned. You learn on Latin when you start studying exclusive equity. There's one Latin phrase. I don't know if I have it handy or not. Oh, I love it. It's
we have some more comments from folks.
Sure.
You want to hear some more from our live chatters? Okay. So, okay, I've heard the Borg was removed by the Galactic Federation. Got to have some sense of humor. And Elizabeth says no comment. Okay, Sandra says, look up Kurt Pendergrass E. Claus, appointed by Pentagon, new to fix courts. Okay, we'll look him up. Daryl Nugent says, before the last Great Depression, 90% of Americans were self-sufficient, growing a lot of their own food. It's probably more like 10% today. What does Martin think of Bitcoin Cash? Yeah, that's very true. We definitely have become more, codependent on government, sadly, and on business corporations. And very few people farm anymore. And I'm one of them. I mean, I just can't farm for the life of me. I really try hard, but I just don't have the time to invest in it. And I live in a salty, sea salt area, and it's very hard to grow lots of things here.
You know an easy way around that? Do you like sprouts?
Brussels sprouts?
No, sprouts.
Oh, like sprouts,
pea
okay,
sprouts.
And blue.
You can actually have, just like a wine rack on your shelf inside your house, you can put sprouts inside the Lipton containers. You can have bean sprouts and pea sprouts and all kinds of different sprouts. You don't have to have a big garden clear out in the middle of nowhere. You could learn how to use the sprouts and live on sprouts.
Okay.
You really,
Let me make a few more comments. Please keep the language clean in the chat, folks. I know we're very passionate about everything. Okay, so Elizabeth says 2 separate and equal stations. Stop the New World Order 2012 says just put the red, white, and blue earrings on. Oh, I don't have the earrings. I have my glasses. I have my Q glasses that I wear when I talk about QAnon. Gary says, okay, who is the king and what's the qualifiers?
Congress right now is our king because it's the rule of law, the congressional rule of law. We've allowed ourselves to go back into the same thing that the founding fathers were fighting before, only with a different title. Instead of being king, it's called Congress. Well,
but our bar, we have the Bar Association, which clearly implicates the British Crown in our government. And we also know Serco is a British entity that controls much of our government, particularly the Patent Office, also the SES Senior Executive Services branch, which is kind of like the pool that usually the president pulls from to choose his cabinet members. So there's an awful lot of foreign influence in our government still people don't understand, because we're under admiralty law, and we have, okay, so attorneys, you can explain what an attorney really means. They turn for the king. So you come into the courtroom, which is basically a tennis court where you're arguing back and forth. And what you have is, if they have something you want, they take it for the king. And so the courts are corporations. They all have Dun and Bradstreet ratings, and they are corporations. And essentially, if they want what you have, they will litigate you to death until you get it. And the attorneys work for the courts, not for you. You can't take an oath to two masters, can you? Because where's your loyalty? So the attorneys work for the courts that are corporations. They do monetize the dockets at the Treasury Department. So your signature creates a negotiable instrument, doesn't
Well,
it?
the easy thing about a signature is, think about this. When you buy a house, there's a bunch of papers sitting on the table. Are they alive at that point? No, they're just sitting there. There's just a bunch of words on a piece of paper. But once you put your signature onto it, what happens? They come to life. You give documents life with your signature. The whole point is, what are you signing and how are you signing? Are you using a qualified signature, or are you just using a signature that they can assume or presume is, you just gave it to us for use. We'll just use it and go out and monetize it. Mm-hmm. We don't have to tell you what we're doing with it. Mm-hmm. But if you qualify it, learn how to qualify your signature, then they have an issue with it. I mean, I've had several times.
So even Winston talked about this. Even if you sign applications for credit cards, those credit card companies don't really care. It doesn't matter whether you get approved or not. Your signature allows them to go to the Treasury Department and make a bill of exchange based on your signature. So you really shouldn't sign anything. Don't apply for any credit you really don't want, because they will monetize your signature. Now, that's how all these, according to Winston, that's how a lot of these CEOs get rich in these companies, is that,
okay, let me tell you a little story.
They take these signatures and they are the ones cashing in at the Treasury Department. And
no, it's even better than this. I was in a layover, sitting at the bar. I started talking to a guy. I says, "What do you do?" He says, "Oh, I trade credit card applications." I says, "What?" He says, "Yeah, I trade credit card applications." I said, "You mean the ones that are approved?" He says, "No." I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "I trade credit card applications, even if they're approved or not approved. I've got one with a signature on it and it has a value on it. You were applying for a $5,000 credit. They denied you, but yet you gave them your unqualified signature. So that allows me to go out and trade this, and they can reach in the Treasury and take the money out and trade it. It's your money. It's in the Treasury. You signed off on it. You said $5,000. You put as soon as you put your signature on that, you gave that document, which is a bill of exchange, life."
Okay, let's go. Gary is saying, so seeing the late means what? Gary, what else are you? Okay, Arba says, absolutely, Martin, you are way too smart for most. Pleased to meet you. So Arba, you can make comments to the viewers if you want, Martin, but you don't have to. Let's see. Common law is for the people at the county level with courts of record to hold our papers that are signed by us, the people. Elizabeth, you are very much.
Okay, Elizabeth, I need to say something to you, Elizabeth. What is the common law today? Do you know?
Yeah, just it might take her a minute to respond because we have a delay. We have a 30-second delay on this, so it could take.
That's but I want to know, because people are spouting this common law stuff all the time. Oh, we need common law. We need to use common law. Well, I have a document. I have a document from 2010 when all 50 attorney generals from the United States signed off on a complaint against the banks. Mm-hmm. And they said the jurisdiction was common law and the doctrine of parens patria.
Oh, don't talk about that. You're going to trigger Martin, you're going to trigger me. Please. Please. Oh my God. Don't I can't introduce something that negative to to this report. We have Daryl, bank account is empty for a super chat. No problem. Martin, have you heard placing 3 dots after your signature means you are signing under duress?
Well, it means there's something else to your signature. I mean, you can see again. If you look at documents, I've been reading a lot from the DTC, and the first thing the DTC does, it gives you a list of the definitions of the words inside their document. So the gentleman that said, or whoever said that the 3 dots, that could be perfect meaning for it as long as you describe the definition when you use it.
Okay, Elizabeth responded, it's only established when the people's assemblies come together and establish their jurisdiction.
Elizabeth, common. Think about the word common. It means it's out here, it's everywhere, common. So when you're talking about common law, what's the common law that we're using today? What you're talking about is the common law they used back in the 1800s, the 1700s, and 1600s, all those. That's not common today anymore. Today, the common law is corporate law. So when you say we want to use common law, they say, yeah, come on in, let's go. What we have to do is establish a law that outcompetes the common law of today and makes it common today. Like taking, just like Walmart, when they moved into the towns and all the little mom and pop shops went away because people stopped using them. We need to do the same thing. We need to stop using the common law of today, reestablish the law of exclusive equity jurisprudence, and make it more common than corporate law.
Okay, so let me interject here. Stop the New World Order 2012. No common law today, Constitution 1946, we lost it. So I think that's what you're referring to. And Elizabeth is saying, okay, so maybe she's, yes, it is still here. We have it. We just don't use it because she was saying to established when people's assemblies come together and establish their jurisdiction by voting in officers. Yes, it is still here. We have it. Just don't use it. So she's commenting back to you.
Do you know what the common law was of 1776? Exclusive equity jurisprudence.
Mm-hmm. Now, are we talking private side? Because I know someone in the chat section was talking about that they are operating on the private side.
Look at the first word in that statement I just made.
So repeat that.
Exclusive. Is that private enough for you?
Yeah.
There's an old Latin phrase that says exclusio, inclusio, inclusio, exclusio. What is included is excluded, and what is excluded is included.
The problem with the common law today is that sorry about that. It's whatever's commonly done, which doesn't, yes, which isn't a good thing right now because they're not following the Constitution. That's why Trump is trying.
No, you're wrong.
They're not following the Constitution.
They're following the Constitution. They're not following the Declaration of Independence.
Well, they're following a different constitution. They're not following there's 2 constitutions. People don't know.
And who's to hold them accountable to it? Who's to hold them accountable? They swear an oath to the Constitution. Right? So who's to hold them accountable to it?
Us.
Yes, the people who granted them their authority, right?
That's right, the people who granted them their authority, right. But everybody's kind of, I know, someone in the chat earlier said something about, not many people.
But it only takes a few. You know what? 2 people can write a petition. 20 people can sign on to it. We can set agendas on our own if we understand how to use the system properly.
Right. And in terms of signing under duress, I mean, you can just write under duress underneath your signature, and that establishes under duress. I'll tell you something. I did this in a court, and the court ordered me. So the court ordered me to sign a tax return during a divorce litigation. Okay. They court ordered me to sign a tax return. And I wrote under duress because I was no longer part of this, union, and I wasn't going to be responsible for their taxes. Why should I be? I'm not benefiting from the income, so why should I be, I'm not receiving the income, so why should I be responsible for the taxes? And they overruled that. They created another order, just giving my ex permission to do so whatever he wants. So this means that justice is for sale in the United States, and we all know that, because I can give you a list. I can enumerate the shenanigans that go on in these courtrooms that
You just
would absolutely make you people run for the hills. You'd be so scared
you
to ever come near another courtroom ever again.
Louisa, you just gave the greatest example of the rule of law. You know why? They changed the rules on you.
Right.
That's what the rule of law is. Anytime they want to change the rule, they want to change. Oh, hey, we can just change it because it's a rule of law. Whose rule? Congress's rule. Who's running Congress? Legislature. It's a, it happens to all of us out here. Until I fought a foreclosure for almost 4 years. Never stepped in court once. And I got the court in a breach of trust. The appellate court right above us told the lower court, sign his order, sign it now, get him out of our system because he's going to take us down because he's got us under breach. And I used exclusive equity jurisprudence to establish that. You know, there's two sides to a document.
Yes.
Now you want to go back to talking private?
The blank side, and
just you got like public side and the private side, right?
Right.
And it's interesting. Do you know there's two sides to the Declaration of Independence?
His name is Martin. Martin is the, I'm sorry, I should be re-announcing your name. This is Martin, a systems researcher who has been with the GoldFish Report, friends of the GoldFish Report, for a long time now. In fact, Martin has seen some of these shenanigans firsthand in the courtroom, haven't you, my friend?
Yes, I have.
Oh my God, we're talking Academy Award. Academy Award performances. Isn't that right?
Yeah, we had fun.
Hello from the Netherlands. Hello, Netherlands. Okay.
Yes. Oh, Netherlands. See, like I say, anybody in this world can use this Declaration of Independence as a guideline to establish their own independence and get away from the rule of law, reestablish the law of nature and nature's God's law, the Creator's law. What was the Creator's law? Oh, it's trust law, wasn't it? Isn't that what we discussed earlier? It was about a trust. Yeah, it's trust law and establishing a trust. You know what? It's really interesting. A trust is your shield out in commerce. Think about it this way. And I've been told that there's a rock outside of Rockefeller Center that says, own nothing, control everything.
Everything, exactly.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What's a trust do? If you put everything into a trust, it owns it. It owns everything. But then guess who under a blind trust controls that trust? You do. You don't own anything, but you control everything. So when somebody goes and looks up your social security number, looks up your name and finds out you're insolvent because you have nothing, are they going to steal your identity?
Well, and let me tell you, all the politicians have this. We know that the Clinton Foundation was doing this, and they were. We know everybody does it. We know that Cindy McCain was found to have trust after trust after, they all embedded within each other, one after the next, and they all do it. This is how, what Martin's talking about is that you protect your
anonymity.
Your anonymity, right? We have some more comments. Trust is breached when led on a dance by the Bouvier. I don't know what you mean.
Depends on what jurisdiction your trust is under.
Robert Hillnam. Hi. So the banter between you two. I'm sorry, but this is, some people don't understand what we're talking about. This is kind of like higher level research. Martin is a systems researcher. We're talking about the Declaration of Independence. We're talking about, in particular, this statement right here, which is directions for us to, as Martin is saying, to ensure our liberty, to retain our liberty, right? When the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind require that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. So
So,
this,
so,
so
so,
they're telling us right now when things happen that, where they're not representing the interests of the people any longer, then it's time for us to disband them. And
so scroll down on the Declaration
okay.
and just start reading right there where it says he.
He has refused his assent to laws the most wholesome and necessary for the public good.
Okay,
It
now
has,
scroll back up. Just listen, look at all these he's. It says he, but scroll back up.
right,
What's it
right,
say?
right,
It
right.
says here, stop right there. It says that they should declare the causes which impel them to separation. They're separating from the King of England. This is what he was doing to them. They listed all the things that he was doing to them, and that's why they're
Right,
saying we don't want to be bound to you anymore.
right.
So we need to do the same thing with Congress. What are Congress binding you to right now? They're binding you. Oh, you gotta register, everything registered, right?
Yeah.
You have to follow a monetary system that and that monetary system, something I learned. Another, that one, this story here. Let me go back. You said
Okay.
something very interesting.
Okay.
You said something about every congressman has these trusts. Another time, I talked to a guy who was an aide to a congressman, and we got in this conversation.
That was my opinion, by the way. I was just stating an opinion.
I know, but
Mhm.
it's interesting because I spent 7 years. I wanted to learn from the roots of what was happening. I spent 7 years on the East Coast,
Mhm.
and I went to the biggest library that has all the writings of all the peoples. And one of the most interesting books I looked at was the book of Thomas Jefferson's Bible and all his notes inside of it, where and his same thing was his Quran notes inside of it. All the founding fathers knew that there was all different types of belief systems out here, but they all believed the same thing in the basics:
Mhm.
be good to each other. That's the basics of the whole thing. Extremism comes in, causes corruption on everything. So I was talking to this guy, and he says, "You know how congressmen make their money?" I says, "Not really." He says, "Well, here's what they do. They take a rule. Let's just say let's say like Obamacare. Now they take it into committee, and they sit down. Do you think they're discussing the wording? No, that's not what they're discussing in the committee. What they're doing is they're going to decide what company they're going to give an advertising budget to that's going to grow according to this bill that they're going to pass. And they're all going to invest in that company so that when the stock market raises their profitability because of all the advertising. And I've never seen right after Obamacare happened, I seen this Humanacare. And I'm thinking, what is Humana? I've never seen that before. And all of a sudden it's on every TV, everywhere I see. I'm thinking,
Right.
well, let's go back and look. Sure enough, what did they do? They got a grant for advertising grant to advertise. And who approved it? Congress approved the grant for them to get money for their media, for their marketing budget. So what did all the congressmen in that committee do? They invested in that company because they knew it was going to grow. Same thing with she was talking before about everybody has a DUNS number. All these law enforcement agencies all have DUNS numbers. They're all private held law enforcement, which are not law enforcement, they're legal enforcement. It's the color of law. It's a quasi law. It looks like a law, it smells like a law, it acts like a law, but it's not the law. It's the rule of law.
Mhm. Got some people in the chat. Just want to
Okay.
shout out some comments here. Stop the NWO 2012. We must restore the 13th Amendment. No lawyers in office. I agree with that. I think because it was an amendment, why are we ignoring it? It should be. But we, the people, have to hold them accountable. I'm telling you, we need to do this. We need
But
to.
you can't do it as a citizen. I'm sorry, because
Yeah.
you consented to be governed. You
Right.
have to reestablish.
By virtue of signing the SS5, which is to apply for the Social Security card, we have exchanged our rights for benefit privilege. Sorry, I sound just like Winston, and I learned so much from him.
Well,
That's what
it's
happened. He's no
exactly
more license. Exactly. Mhm.
what they've done is they've taken a right, they've turned it into a privilege and charging you a fee to be able to have that privilege that usually you had a right under the Declaration of Independence that was unalienable and secured by a constitution.
Unalienable.
Unalienable.
Everyone,
Unalienable.
well, that's not the same. It's really punctuation makes a
That's right.
difference. Where you put the
Wordsmithing.
emphasis, wordsmithing, exactly. Unalienable, which means they
Yes.
cannot put a lien against your
Rights.
your personal property.
But again, let's go back. If you don't know what your rights are, do you have any rights?
No way.
Yeah.
Not in a
You don't you don't have
courtroom
to.
in America. Right, Martin?
Well, now
Oh my
this is
goodness.
if you and so I have a mentor that's really knowledgeable and uses as exclusive equity jurisprudence all the time, and he did something that I work with an attorney. I was teaching this attorney about exclusive. This woman says, I went to law school 4 years and never heard anything about this. What is this? And then she goes, oh, that was an elective. I didn't have to study exclusive equity. It was an elective. They said, no, I don't need to do that. And they're right, because you need to study. If you're going to be a lawyer in this day and age, you want to study common law. And the common law is corporate law, right?
Right.
So I says, my mentor sent a letter to the Supreme Court of the United States, got docketed within 3 days. She says, no, it takes 9 months or more to get any kind of docket.
As a private
Not as a people.
As a people, we the people.
As a people, he established who he was and what he was and how he was, and then entered it under exclusive equity jurisprudence. The way you have to initiate exclusive equity jurisprudence is you have to be denied in a statutory court, because what's it say? If there's an adequate judgment at law, you cannot initiate exclusive equity. But if you get denied, then you have the rights to bring in exclusive equity under the Constitution. Why can you say that? Why can you say you're bringing in a bill in exclusive equity under the Constitution?
When you say bill of equity, be more specific for some people who
bill in equity is a complaint
okay.
in equity. Just like when you go to the court and you sign you fill out the initiation complaint, you're filing somebody, oh, the neighbor broke my fence, I'm filing a complaint against him, blah, blah, blah. That's the statutory side. On a exclusive equity, a complaint is a bill in equity. And even a better one is a bill in equity in the form of a bill of peace. Because a bill of peace is like a tort claim. It means it's a torturous action being done to not just you, but anybody else out here too that has similar situation. And at law says you can join onto a case if you're similarly situated.
You can enjoin onto a case.
Yes, enjoin onto a case if the case says and there anyone similarly situated to this case can join on.
Are you talking about a third party interest intervener?
That's over here on the statutory side. Now on the exclusive equity side, you can enjoin onto a bill of peace. Once a bill of peace is established and been adjudicated, you go back and find it, jump onto it. Hey, I have the same problem. Right?
Hold on, Martin. Where did your... Oh, are you talking yet?
In a thought process.
Oh, okay. No, because all right. Since you're doing that, I'm just going to say, okay. So, no lawyer, attorney, or esquire need hung, then never allowed to work in America. Okay, that's a common opinion. Okay, Martin, you should know Kirk, Law Corner, and E-Clause on Facebook or YouTube. They are live Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. So and Maria, thank you, and thank you for your beautiful comment about this conversation. Yeah, we tried to make it educational and informative. So thank you for that. There's some compliments, Martin, to your credit.
What you said, what was the first comment you said there? Somebody said, I missed it now. I wanted to make a comment on that.
About the county? Was it about the county level? Or was
just now? You just made a comment, like the first of those three you said. The first one you said was...
Oh, Kirk, Law Corner, and E-Clause.
No, above that one.
About the attorneys, lawyers, esquires,
that's the one.
Should be hung and never allowed to work in America again.
Okay, but here's the thing. This is what you need to understand. And we've done this. In my group that I work with, many people have done this. Once you've established you're one of the people, what's the say in the scriptures? You must come out of her. That means you come out of DC. Guess what happens when you actually establish you're one of the people and they recognize you in DC? You can't use an attorney. Attorneys can't represent you. You have to seek counsel. They literally say you no longer can be represented by an attorney. So you want to get rid of, here, I'll go back to what I said before. You want to get rid of attorneys? Guess what you do? Stop using them.
Yeah. Well, when you say come out of DC, some people might not, this might be more advanced concept. So you might want to explain how, are you referring to like authenticating a birth certificate and reclaiming your
No,
status? No. Okay.
that's a method.
That's a
That is a
method.
method. All right. There's several methods out here to get out and come out of her. There's all kinds of ways to be able to, but you got to get the recognition of being one of the people, self-governing, self-reliance. We've been taught all our lives to be enabled at any time. If you have a legal issue, go get an attorney. If you have a medical issue, go find a doctor. If you have a monetary issue, go find a banker.
Right.
But all
Michael.
these things you should know inherently. These things should have been taught to you by your family, but they weren't taught to that part of the family and that
Right.
part of the family. It goes back generations.
We have Michael Alexander saying this is fascinating stuff. We should do more of it. The public needs to get educated in this much more. Very true, but it's also a self. People need to be searching. There needs to be some intrinsic motivation. Somebody has to. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink it. So it's kind of like people have to start. I understand if they don't know it exists, they don't know to look for it, but just go to court. I mean, you'll find out real quick. Just find out real quick you have no rights, and you're going to start wondering what the heck just happened in there. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Michael gave us a thumbs up. Yeah, he gets it. He knows. So you're absolutely right. People, GoldFish Report's been talking about this for a long time. All of the Country Roads episode series, featured these kinds of conversations, educational videos. Sadly, Winston made some enemies, and they were powerful enemies, and they are the ones who are, well, let's see, who we are talking about. There's a very, strong force against people waking up and against people becoming informed and on this, because they don't want to give up their gravy train, and they want to keep us footing their bill, but they don't want to, to share in that with everyone else, I have to say. Okay, Gary says, I got a like from someone from DC on some date after I posted I'm not afraid, after Maddie McCain was walked in my store by a Sean Stone lookalike. Oh, interesting. Right. Michael's saying we outnumber them. We do. We do. Um, Look, I think President Trump is trying to transition us. I think we are going to go. I didn't mean to ignore the question. There was just a lot of things coming in on the chat, and someone did ask about NASARA. These principles are not going to be called NASARA out, I think, openly and outright. They're principles that are incorporated into the laws, into the executive orders that the president has been passing. So you have to understand what NASARA is and recognize that. Sorry, I just heard a loud noise. I shouldn't be hearing one, but so our Country Roads reports, though, folks, because our original channel was deleted, many of our Country Roads reports are available on our Vimeo. It's a Vimeo on demand. So there's a because we had to archive them there, we had to pay for a subscription, which is costly. So it is a few bucks to rent one, or to buy one, actually. But they're there if you want to go back and look at all that that Winston shared with everybody. But realize, if you don't study this and know this really, really, really well, you're going to get yourself into big trouble. A lot of people are in prison right now because of it, because they didn't study it well enough to understand how, what they were getting themselves into. And I'm not suggesting anybody take what we're talking about in this report today and,
running with it,
do anything with it other than use it for your own knowledge and build on it. And what you do with that is up to you. We're not trying to advocate that you do anything in particular with it. Just maybe help to wake other people up to the fact that, we're really talking about what this report is about today is the Declaration of Independence. Okay. And this is this is our directions on how to retain our liberty. I have to go find out what that sound is. So Martin, why don't you keep talking? Because I need to go find out what I hear a sound I need to go
Well, one of the
investigate.
things I wanted to say to people, if people actually read what Winston was charged with and looked at the code, the statutory code that said in there, I do believe Winston could have easily beaten that case easily if he would have really emphasized one word in the charging documents under the sections of the code that they say he was in violation of. There's one word in there that says, if you had intent to defraud the government. His intent wasn't to defraud anyone. His intent was to liberate us from the monetary system in a manner that we could use the system to our benefit. But what the whole point was, they construed it as to do damage to our monetary system by circumventing the Federal Reserve collective. He was trying to show people how to use the commerce system in a manner that benefited you without entailing you into their jurisdiction. But he missed it because he didn't bring it in as a trust. Trust law is your foundation. You must learn trust law, and you must learn how to initiate a trust. Now, how I know that I have a trust arrangement with my creator, it's very simple. It goes back to the scriptures. Now, on a basic trust, you have a grantor, you have a trustee, you have a beneficiary. Under the sacred trust we have the creator is the grantor of this trust. The trustee of this trust is Jesus Christ. Now, why do I say that? Because he makes statement inside the scriptures that says, everything must pass through me to get to the Father. Well, then where does that leave you? If Jesus is a trustee and the creator is the grantor of the trust, what position do you have left?
You're the beneficiary.
Bingo. So I did this with the IRS. I created a TIN number with that premise exactly. Why? I named it a sacred trust. I think everyone on the planet could do this. We could all get TIN numbers from the Internal Revenue Service and because they ask you a question, who's the grantor? Okay, the creator. Who's the trustee? Jesus. Who's the beneficiary? I am.
Yeah, but
then they issue a TIN number.
And that's when Winston was talking about the redemption of our debts. You could call it redemption of our sins, but the redemption of our debts, because by virtue of Jesus, he prepaid those debts.
And how did he prepay it?
On the cross, on a double ledger accounting system.
There you go. Because everything has to come back to zero, doesn't it?
Right.
Exactly.
I know some of this is a little bit sophisticated for people, but this is, just the beginning. Just go with what resonates, write some notes down, and start. Just to study one concept that we're talking about takes a long time. It's a study, and you're right. This should be taught in schools, absolutely. But if they were, then we would all know.
It should be taught in families. I'm sorry.
Families, right? So state cannot be the victim. Okay, the power have all the arguments against them cover up. The powers that be have all the arguments against them cover. Jesus was the third party guarantor, blood contract. Yeah, I read about that. Exactly. Amen. Okay, people are very happy about this. Yeah. Well, okay, I think that's okay. National Liberty Alliance. I do know them, actually. Are you familiar with them? National Liberty Alliance? No, I know who you're talking about. National Liberty Alliance. I think they're good people, and they are definitely trying to do good things. But of course, they're going to be a threat to the powers that be. They're going to be a threat to those who want to stay on their gravy train of having us be the debt slaves and pay their way. And it has to end. The system has to end. And you're trying to teach us how. Well,
not end it. Not end it, outcompete it. It'll go away. It'll dissolve itself. It'll eat itself up alive if you outcompete it. Anything will eat itself alive if you outcompete it.
Right.
And we all have to get together and learn this to outcompete that system, creating the system that was established by the founding fathers. They had the same problems we do right now, only we have a king called Congress. They had a king called England.
Very true. This was a lot for people. This is a lot, to kind of, I think we're picking up a lot of Winston followers here, which is really great, because we all know Winston. How would we go about creating training material that contained absolute information if we are going to collectively step out of this? We can't all individually take this on. No one's suggesting that you take it on individually. I mean, it's very difficult. That's why National Liberty Alliance has been formed. That's one way, is that you create an alliance. That's the only way to do it. We, the people, have to do it. Nobody said that you individually have to, but we, the people, have to do it. We have to collectively, come to this realization, or at least the 100th monkey. I don't know. I don't know what the criteria is, Martin. But
So here's the thing. How many people at Liberty Alliance know that this is available? This is something you and I talked about before.
mm-hmm.
There's a place, and this is 2019,
Mm-hmm.
that we could all go to if you understand how to do it properly. And you can sign on to something. And this is exactly why they wrote the Second Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh, this is good, folks. You want to listen to this? No,
it
this
asks
is so
you
good.
A question.
Listen
if
to
you
this.
want to sign on to something, you want to become part of it. It says, "Are you sure you want to sign this? If you had been a member of the Second Continental Congress in 1776, you were a rebel and considered a traitor by the king. You knew that a reward had been posted for the capture of certain prominent rebel leaders, and the largest British armada ever assembled was just outside New York Harbor. Affixing your name to the document meant that you pledged your life, your fortune, and your sacred honor to the cause of freedom." This is why they wrote the Second Amendment, because the people who signed on to that knew that they were going to be attacked by the king and his minions, and they had to have protection.
Yeah.
But how many people were taught?
Okay, I just need to respond. Yvarn, I didn't ignore your question. I stated it out loud, and the answer to the question is you form an alliance. How do you create training material on this? You have to form an alliance, and everybody, goes about doing it themselves. I'm not creating training material on it. We're creating,
It's
a
established
platform.
already. The material's out there. Joseph
Right.
Story, John Pomeroy, Henry Gibson, a gentleman by the name of Lewin teaches trust law, because you have to establish trust first before you declare your independence.
Yeah.
So see, that
okay.
first trust I talked about, where I said I got the TIN number, that's an umbrella trust. Now, if I want to operate, I don't operate in commerce with that trust. That trust is just between me and my creator. That's the only thing that trust is for. But you can use that TIN number to establish a living trust, and using that TIN number as the grantor of that living trust, then you've incorporated your sacred trust into a living trust that you can operate into commerce with. See, this is the interesting thing that people, under a trust, you take all the properties, you put it into your trust, you assess a value to it. Now, there's certain things you find more valuable than other people would find more value to. So then you have to post notice of this. Let's say, for instance, I have something that's really sacred to me, but it's part of my trust. And it's to me, it's like, it's invaluable. So I'm going to put $5,000 onto this, is what I'm going to call the value of it. But you're going to look at it and say, well, that has no value and meaning to me. I mean, it's something that's common. That has no meaning. So what you have to do is you have to post out in the public, just like the king used to do. He used to go, hear ye, his notary go out and you put on a post, we're going to cut off your right arm on Friday if nobody objects. So nobody objected. Here comes the king. He cuts off your right arm. Same thing with us. If we want to make a claim to something, We have a thing that's very valuable to us. We want to pull it into our trust, and we want to increase the value of our trust so we can use it as collateral against the private bill of exchange we want to use for set off. So we have to give notice. So what we do, we go out into a publication called a newspaper. We write a publication. We put notice, equitable notice. I have equitable interest in this object. It is worth this much. Anyone having any objection to this, please contact a third-party witness with your concerns. You never get any responses. That means everybody agreed. Now you have proven value. It might not be the value that an assessor would give to it, but it would be a value you give to it because it's so important to you. This is what the notice is all about, giving notice. Notice is one of the major things in equity.
Notice is huge. Notice is really huge. And they didn't like when I used that in the courtroom either. So look, I wanted to just say that I wanted to remind our viewers, this is a new platform for the GoldFish Report. The super chats are open, folks. So we do appreciate any support that viewers want to give to our educational videos. And we do appreciate that. But this is, I think we're going to start working on wrapping this up soon, Martin, because we've been going for quite a while today. And this is great. We have to come back and do this again, Martin.
All I want to do is ask every one of you out there, get a copy of the Declaration of Independence and read each section. You realize something? That's the only document that we celebrate every year. But how many people understand why we celebrate? Oh, it's independence. Oh, we're independent. Are you really? Here you are subject to all these rules, codes, regulations, ordinances, all these different things you're subject to, but yet you're saying, I'm independent. Oh, Declaration, right. And there's another thing. Under the Declaration of Independence created a constitution. And the first thing in the constitution, it says, we the people, in order to form a more perfect union.
Right.
Well, what else do we have every year? Every year we have one. But how many people even understand what it is? The State of the Union Address. It's our leader giving us an update to the progress of our union. We need to be, this is what I was going to say before, there's a parasite that has been stewing in our system since the 1600s. And that parasite's been growing and growing. It's just like the frog in a pot of cold water, slowly turning the heat up. Well, guess what? Right now, that parasite's making us very uncomfortable. It's starting to make us antsy. It's starting to make us anxiety. It's starting to make us points where we want to, what can we do? So guess what we need to do? Follow the example. Become a parasite and out-parasite the parasite. Make it uncomfortable. There are more of us than there are of them. We need to take back our liberty. We need to take back and set the agenda. No matter what president's in there, who cares who they vote into office? They still have to follow the same agenda set by the people, not set by the agencies and all these other things that are subject. We need to take back our government. So when somebody said something, well, is the true government set? No, the true government's sitting in the chair, right where you're at. You are the government. But if you don't know how to govern yourself, how can you govern others? This is a point where you have to learn self-reliance, self-governance, learning the Declaration of Independence, learning what it means to understand how to make these systems out here beneficial to you. They were beneficial to someone at some point when they were written and initiated. Learn how they work and how they benefited that party and make you, replace you with that party. This is your basic foundation you need to start with. This is what got me started. Somebody said, you know, I got a book and it said, you need control. And I started thinking, well, what in the world? What do you mean I need control? And all of a sudden I started thinking about, well, what controls me? Oh, well, I got this legal system seems to control me. I got this monetary system that seems to control me. I got this medical system that seems to control me. I got this social system that seems to control me called religion. Interesting. Maybe I should learn how those work and make them beneficial to me. And that's what we need to do. Learn these systems. Utilize these systems. You realize we can set up, you got all these people out here talking about socialism. You don't think that the founding fathers were dealing with socialism when they wrote this Declaration of Independence? They knew socialism was right there. It was right there in their face. So they wrote something where socialism, started at the bottom and worked its way to the top, not from the top down. This is the greatest experiment ever established. We don't utilize it properly.
Okay, so Yvonne says, so the Declaration of Independence is the scope of works I've been looking for to begin comprehension of this mess. What would you say?
Yes.
Is that a fair characterization?
Yes. Yes. Tear that
There
Declaration
is.
of and just tear the, you don't have to tear about all the stuff where they complained about, but realize you replace he with Congress. Every place that you, if you go back to that declaration, go back to the declaration. Would you click on there?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. I was going to go
That's
get my
fine.
deck. I have my declaration framed. I should put it behind me. But
Yes, you should. You know, and
well,
I asked Ruben Report. I said to him, he said something about, well, I have a declaration hanging on my wall. And I said, so you have a declaration hanging on your wall? Do you know how to use it?
yeah, exactly. So go
Yeah.
ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
So scroll down to where it talks about, like where it says he right here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
replace this. Congress has refused to assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. Congress has forbidden this governors to pass laws of immediate and pressure importance unless suspended their operation till assent should be obtained and so suspended. Replace all the he's with Congress. They fit everything in here. They're doing it to us again, repeating history. Congress has endeavored to prevent the population of these states for the purpose of obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass other to encourage migration hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of land. Really? Doesn't that sound familiar? We're having an issue at the border, right? Congress has obstructed the administration of justice
Yeah.
by refusing his assent to laws for the established for the judiciary power.
Well, that's a big one because if there's no oversight and accountability in our courts, we're screwed. And we are. We're
And who's
screwed.
been
We're
setting
screwed.
that
We're
agenda?
screwed the minute we walk into that courtroom. If you don't have deep pockets and you're not well connected, you're screwed the minute you walk into a courtroom. I'm sorry to tell you that, folks. You have no rights in there because they only preside over you as the corporate entity. That's why your name is in all capital letters. So that's why the judge wears a robe. People who are capital letters only refers to corporations, tombstones, and ships. That's why we're in admiralty law. We are not even a live human being when we walk into that courtroom. That's why we need to have an attorney.
No, that's not why you need an attorney.
Yeah,
I'm
it is
sorry. I'm
because
going to debate you on that. I'm going to debate you on that.
we're not a live human being,
No,
so we
no,
need
no,
to have
no, no, no.
somebody
It's not.
representing the
No,
corporation.
no. Here's the thing right here. The
Okay,
birth certificate is registered. It's a registered document. Who's
it
it
is
registered with?
the IRS.
No, the
I'm
British.
sorry. I didn't mean the IRS. I'm sorry.
It's registered with the British Accredited Registry System of the UK. It is a sole corporation established by the state. When your birth, your parents applied for it. They applied for the sole corporation, not realizing that it was going to be registered in the UK. And
Right.
what's the Bar Association?
Mm.
It's
British
the British Accredited
Station.
Registry System. They represent that system as bar attorneys. That's why they keep asking you, sure you don't need an attorney? Because you're coming in there representing that sole corporation, not knowing that.
Right. Which is also why they have, I think they have their own internal policy, Martin, that if you're representing yourself pro se, you're never going to pro se, you're not going to prevail in the court system.
That's why you want to go proper personam.
Pro per.
Yeah,
Pro
exactly.
per.
But again, you should
And
never,
also by
if
also
you're if you are actually using exclusive equity jurisprudence, you'll never step into a court ever again. You will do it in the private. You will do it in personam. You will set up an appointment with the judge, the chief judge of the court system that you have an issue with, and hand him a petition directly in personam and settle it right then and there. You will never step a foot into a court.
Michael, I'm not sure what your question is. Is this what Bill Barr is. Barr. No, that's just happened. That happens to be his last name.
Yeah. Yeah. But he is an attorney, so he is part of the British accredited registry
Yeah,
system. He
exactly.
is.
He is. Mhm.
And think about how many of those people out there are in Congress right now setting our rule of law.
This is why we're supposed to have. This is why they eliminated the 13th Amendment. No attorneys allowed in elected office. I mean, this is, this
But see,
is.
this the whole
We
thing
need to
is
hold
if
them accountable to this.
again, if you're one of the people, you don't use attorneys, that's their swamp. Let them have their swamp. We go back to using the system the way it was properly set up for the people to administer to. We learn how to use the system properly.
Mhm.
There is trillions and trillions and trillions and quadrillions of money sitting in a treasury waiting for the people to come forward with a claim as the right to what? Usufruct of that treasury. Use it without causing harm or doing damage. Everything here, we are stewards. This is what our position is. Remember when it goes back to the Declaration of Independence, it says, what is your station in life?
Mhm.
Our stations are stewards. We're here to be stewards to each other. We're here to be stewards to the land. We're here to be stewards to ourselves. That's the
Right.
first thing we have to do.
Right.
When I discovered I had a trust arrangement with my creator,
Mhm.
I realized what was the first thing my creator gave me? He granted me a gift. The very first gift he granted me, the
Life.
body. I
Right.
looked down and seen a spare tire so big, I went, holy cats, I'm in breach of trust. How can I expect to have blessings from my creator if I can't take care of the very first thing he gave me?
Sherry says maritime law. Right. Admiralty is maritime law. An admiral is the captain of a ship. So it is maritime law. It's the same thing. That's right, Sherry. That's right.
But we don't need to study all that because if you
Michael's
study
laughing.
that,
Michael's
you know,
laughing at your analogy that you're giving. His spare tire is so big, you can't take care of the first thing he gave you. That's
yes,
right, Michael. We can all identify. We can all identify. It's very
that's
interesting.
self-governance.
It's the kingdom within. The kingdom of
Yeah.
God is within.
My
Hello.
kingdom is your kingdom. Utilize it properly. Make it work for you.
Well, Martin, this has been a really great kind of, marathon session on advanced equity. And, you wouldn't think that it is, but it is. The Declaration of Independence is, as you said, our instructions. And when you
Yeah.
were referring to it, I hope it didn't, I think it might have gotten a few people lost. Did you want to screen? I know you didn't really want people to do it because you didn't want people to kind of make a mistake about it, but you're talking about, do you really want, why is the Second Amendment, created? And I think you made a really good point to me. Did you, but I think it might have gotten lost on some people. Um,
The Second Amendment was created so that when you were attacked, when you signed on to the Declaration of Independence and said, "Hey, I want to be one of these people," then you were going to be attacked, and so they had to create. They said, "No, no, no. We need the protection. You need to
right,
have protection because they're going to come kicking down your doors. Make your life as miserable as possible."
exactly. As miserable as possible,
Yeah.
folks. You just said it right there, and Martin, you've witnessed that firsthand in a courtroom, in the courtroom that I was in, Martin, and you saw the absolute, theatrics that go on in there. And it's absolutely, the courts all know this. This isn't, a secret to the judges.
No.
They will take advantage of you if you don't know what you're doing. If you don't know who and what you are, they will take advantage of you. No, Martin doesn't have his own channel. Martin comes on GoldFish Report, and that's, I know, unless Martin uh, is gonna create a new one for himself,
If
then
you guys want me to come on here regularly, say so. I mean, that's the whole point. I'm
right,
not
Martin.
here for me. I'm here to see if anybody has an interest in learning what the Declaration of Independence is for.
Yeah. I love this. This is great stuff because this is where we're at. We're at the crossroads of another revolution here in the United States, folks. Because this is, let me tell you what's happening. Um, Congress is going to end up doing this on its own because because this is playing out like a Shakespearean play. I'm going to call it Impalo, and I called it this in my POTUS report on Monday. This is the story. This is like a Shakespearean tragic comedy, okay, of the story of how the Democrats fell on their own sword. So when I say impalo, you know that this is how they impaled themselves on their own sword, because they are uniting the rest, not only Republicans, and I don't mean to really say Republicans. I'm not really thinking left and right. I'm thinking right and wrong. That's the difference. And what the shenanigans that they're pulling on this president, who's trying to do good and trying to make America better, okay, than what it's been, where it was going. It was on a train wreck to hell if we continued with the God help us, man, if Hillary Clinton became president, because it's very well known what her plans for the United States were, and it's all going to come out in terms of her pay to play and what she was doing, how she used the Clinton Foundation as a foreign agent, where she was, it was a pay to play, where foreign governments were essentially paying for favors, policy to create a policy favorable to them. That's, and everybody's sleeping at the wheel. No one's holding Congress, no one's holding these people accountable. And President Trump is, and he is trying to drain the swamp, as he said.
Trump
These are
is
swamp dwellers.
what Trump is doing right now. He's kicking the door open. Are you going to go through it? Or are you going to just let it swing shut? He's giving us the opportunity. Are you paying attention? Are you ready to do something? It doesn't take an army to put a petition together, put a bill in equity together. It only takes a few people who have an understanding of what a bill in equity is and how to present it to change everything out here, just like they did in 1776.
Okay.
We can do this again if you take the time to learn the instructions.
Okay, the people are definitely wanting you to come back. And just so you know, folks, this is a super chat, so we do, appreciate the support. This is years and knowledge and of information that Martin has researched, that, I've gone through, I've learned from Martin too, an awful lot. And it does help to support the channel, and it does help to make it easier for Martin to come back on a regular basis. So we do appreciate anyone who feels inclined to donate a super chat. We are going to have a super chat Q&A with Rob Potter tomorrow regarding his Venusian
I like that guy.
Yeah, regarding his Venusian context. And so it will be questioned. I mean, it's free to the public to watch, but if you want to ask and interact one-on-one directly with our guests, then it requires a super chat donation. And so we'll talk about that tomorrow. And this was really a test, Martin. So thank you very much for, participating. I did get this worked out. I was working diligently on making sure that I'm using two different applications that are interfacing in order to bring this kind of video to the public in a live forum, so where we can actually interact. And this has been great, Martin. Did you like the interactive aspect of this?
Love it. That's the whole point. That's the whole point, is to get to spark people's. It goes back to the days of back to Aristotle. There's a statement that they used to say in class all the time. He says, you need a burning desire. You need a burning desire. And this is what I'm trying to create, is get a burning desire, because what's a definition of a burning desire? So one of the teachers took one of the students out to the waterfront in the ocean. And he says, you're always talking about a burning desire. What's a burning desire? I don't quite get that. I said, so, okay, here, follow me. So he comes out and they walk out into the ocean. And they walk up to their neck deep, right? They're neck deep in the water. And all of a sudden, the teacher grabs the guy by the back of the head and he shoves him under the water. And he holds him there. And all of a sudden, he starts flailing and flailing and flailing and flailing and flailing. And finally, he pulls him up. And these guys look at him and he goes, did you have a burning desire to breathe? Yeah, that's the burning desire you need in order to make things happen in your life. You have to have a burning desire to make change in your life in order to be an example to others, to make change in the world. Make your world better by making the world better.
And as if your next breath depends on it.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it does. You have a parasite, and that parasite's about ready to overrun you and make you into right now, we are all economic slaves. There isn't one of us out here that's not subject to that green piece of paper. And once you learn how to stop using that green piece of paper, and put positive currency back into circulation instead of negative debt notes, we're always going to remain in this slavery system. And the founding fathers set it up in the Declaration of Independence, showing you how to utilize the systems they created to make them beneficial to you.
Yeah, Martin, I need to respond to some of these. Okay, a lot of people are very happy about this. They want to know where the database is. Folks, it's a research. This is a quest of research. They're not going to make this information easy for us to access and to find. You have, I mean, people have been studying this for years, and Martin in particular has
Where
been
did I
studying
find it?
it for years. And Winston studied this for years. I mean, people invest so much money. They're not going to make this easy for us to understand because they don't want us to know. And in
It's not
terms,
that. It's not. It's what you don't know what you're looking for.
yeah,
That's the point.
but we're here, okay, so I just want to respond to Sally. Sally, you have been a follower of GoldFish Report for a long time. I know you, Sally. I recognize you, my friend. You said an audience of 117 is not going to make a difference. I beg to differ with you.
Yes, I do
It
too.
it is a seed, my dear. It is a
Yes, it's a
seed.
parasite.
I
Make it
have been,
grow.
yeah, I make it grow. I have been studying for 3 years and I'm still confused. You took my burning desire and practically destroyed it. Sally, I'm sorry you feel that way, but honestly, it takes a collective and one at a time. If 117 people are in here, the next time we come back on, it will be more. And we have, established our reports with the Country Road series.
Can I ask
And
Sally a question?
we've had thousands, yeah, just one second, we've had thousands of viewers on our Country Roads editions. It's not really for you to solve and for you to act on right now, but it's for us to learn collectively that there's something bigger. There's something bigger that we, the people, are the ones who need to collectively do this. And when enough people get to watching these chats and get to standing up and saying, wait a minute, we show Congress, we have this Declaration of Independence. And this is our agreement and this is what our power is to replace you if you're not going to do your job, if you're not going to do what you're here to do. Many of them are dual Israeli citizens. What do we have Israel? Hello, people. Why do we have Israel embedded within our government by virtue of dual citizens? Why do we have them practically owning NASA? Well, they do pretty much own NASA because they were created by the Nazis that came over here after World War II. This was part of Operation Paperclip. This is why all the things that GoldFish Report talks about will put the whole picture together, at least a big picture, a big portion of the picture. It's like puzzle, and we have different puzzle pieces that all fit together. So now you can understand when we say that the Nazis infiltrated the United States. It was a coup d'etat after JFK. The Nazis are, it's a Zionist operation. And,
What
and,
were
and I
the
don't
Nazis?
mean the Semite Jews, folks. I'm talking about what the Bible says in terms of the fake Jews who came in here. They have a different agenda for us, and it's not for us, folks. It's only for us,
What was the Nazis?
Bill.
The Nazis were socialists.
Exactly.
That's the parasite. That's the parasite that's been here since the ship landed on this beach.
Yeah. So
that
these are being corrected, though. There's definitely this force. So we all know about QAnon. We know about the president. We know about the positive military behind Trump. And there are major changes. The Great Awakening is going. It's rippling around the world. So it's not like you need to do anything. You kind of have to wait for
no,
everybody to. Well, no, Martin, but I'm not going to lead people to do things
no,
they
no,
don't
no. But I want
understand.
to, I
You
want
know
to
what
say
I'm saying?
something.
Go ahead.
Sally asked a question. She said, "I burst her bubble in her burning desire." What system in Sally's life is controlling her the most?
Mm-hmm. Just keep talking because we're running out of time. We're going to have to close this up.
Okay. I wanted to be able to answer a question, but you know what? Maybe
Yeah.
that's what you need to get people to send you questions so we can answer these questions. Think about this. What system controls you the most at this present time? Because if you want to learn more about exclusive equity jurisprudence, go to your law libraries. Look up treatises from Joseph Story, the treatises from John Pomeroy, the treatises from Henry Gibson. Learn about trust. Go to the legal library. Every county has a law library. I went to a law library and I started getting certified copies of pages out of law books.
That connection is starting to
Yep. And you know what
go in and out. I think somebody doesn't. want us talking about this. See, folks,
Yep. And
it's
the,
cutting out.
and the law librarian says, you know what? You're the only person I know that comes in here besides high-paid lawyers and attorneys come in here and get pages out of books and get copies to put in their cases.
Right.
How did you know this? I said, I didn't know this. I just wanted this page because I needed it for what I was working on.
A little bit here. But look, Sally, I absolutely, yes, I love you with all my heart. And I know Sally has been a follower of the GoldFish Report for a long time. And I'm with you, dear. I am. We're all in this together. We're all we the people. So, Martin, can you say something? Because I want to make sure you're still
Yep,
connected
I'm
there.
here. Can you
All
hear
right,
me?
let's close this up. Yeah, we can. We're our internet. I think someone's not liking what we're talking about. So look, we've been on for quite a while now. So let's yeah, Mike Kretmar. Mike has had some good comments too, because we're on the land, and on the land, for a document to be read and valid, it must be written in the Lord's language. Okay, Mike, all your bills, titles, deeds, all documents are written in Babel, making them avoid fraudulent, fake, worthless scrap of paper. And he says Babel came from
Michael,
ancient Babylon. It's the devil's language.
Michael, you're
It's the
reading the
devil's
public
language.
side of the document. Stop reading the public side of the document. That's why it's all babble. You got to learn what
Right.
the private side of the document is.
Oh, look at Arba. We the people beam Sally. Lots of love. I know. Look, we're
Yes.
we're all in this together.
Yes.
I'm not saying we have answers to everything, but Martin's done an extreme amount of research on all of this. He's a very smart individual. But like I said, folks, don't use this if you don't know what you're doing. What we're doing is just providing knowledge. What you do with it is up to you, but it's knowledge, and hopefully it's it's the seed. It's the seed
I'm going to make a
of
statement.
what will transform us. Go ahead, Martin.
If you're going to make a claim, you'd better be able to defend it, because if you can't defend your claim, don't be making it, because that's where you get in trouble.
Mike has some interesting, I believe, giving out info piecemeal is not help. Sally, this stuff is so over the heads of so many people that if we don't do things, yes, it needs to be. We're talking today about the Declaration of Independence. We were having a conversation about it today. So I think Martin, you have done a great job in explaining to us that this is really our instruction on what we need to do if we're not happy with the government and we're not happy with the representation in government. That it is our obligation, it is our responsibility as we the people to correct this. And it says it right in this Declaration of Independence. It is our responsibility. And if we find ourselves at this time, and I think that's what President Trump is trying to do. We also have the militia. We have the military who has sworn an oath to protect this country from enemies, not only foreign but domestic, and which is what we've had. So we had a coup d'etat within our government that infiltrated our education, infiltrated our legal system, infiltrated our sciences and education and so forth. And what we're trying to do, I think what the president's trying to do, is to legitimately take back power from this coup d'etat and continue with the policies that President Kennedy was trying to implement. And again, it's a transition process. The ideal is not something we could just change to overnight, but we are transitioning to a better society. And we do need to educate ourselves individually. We do need to become educated on this. So this is the beginning, folks, and we will come back. We will definitely come back.
Can I read a
And
couple more quotes real fast?
go right ahead.
What truly matters is not which party controls our government, but whether our government is controlled by the people. Guess who wrote that?
Kennedy? Sounds like
President
something
of the
Kennedy would
Union,
write.
Donald J. Trump,
Oh,
January
okay.
20th, 2019.
Not
Ask
surprised.
not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
We all know that.
President John F. Kennedy, January 20th. Notice, what was it? State of the Union address. He made that comment. Same
Right.
thing with Trump when he made that comment. And this is the one that's my very favorite one. The roots of education are bitter, but the fruit is sweet.
There you go. There you go.
Aristotle. He's
Aristotle.
our founder from the beginning.
Yeah. So this was a great education on the Declaration of Independence and what it really means, and what how it connects with other things. So it's not piecemeal. It was focused around the Declaration, and so we do hope that you all enjoyed it. We're really so happy that you uh, interacted on the live chat. So we did decide to do this new with GoldFish Report, and in order to keep it going, and we will be actually broadcasting the Trump rally next Tuesday from Hershey, Pennsylvania. So we will be there one way or the other to broadcast live the Trump rally. There's very few places that are doing it, so we're glad to be doing that as well. So our viewers do know that we have press privileges at the White House. But this is the Trump campaign, which is a little bit different. So we'll wait and we'll see how that goes. So Martin, thank you so much for being here, and thank you to the viewers who are watching and for interacting. And I know that this is a live, but this is going to be on our channel. So anyone who has not been able to join live will certainly be able to view this at a later time. So the number, Sally, is going to be much bigger. I know that, and this is good information because people do need to know. It's a document everybody knows about, but nobody knows how to use it. So I'm really happy that you brought this. I know we miss Winston to Awakenings and New Beginnings,
And
says
we can
making
get him
comments.
out with a petition in equity. We can get him out.
All right, well,
You
that's
need
another
to
conversation.
learn.
That's another conversation. So do you have any closing comments you want to say?
Yeah, make this go
Is that
viral.
make it go viral, folks? That's a
Yes,
good thing.
make
Share,
this go viral. This is
share, share,
something
share.
everybody in the world can use. It's not set up just for the United States, it's not for America. Every country in the world can establish their independence internally and then share and make this world better to live in.
Sally, you're not alone, my friend. 8 years I've been in litigation. 8 years. And it's absolute, you have no idea. Most people wouldn't have even made it this far. And it's not over. It's not over because this is the problem. If you're really looking, you don't get justice in a courtroom. And Winston said this, that's not where you go to get justice. So
No, that's where you go to
bad
get
thing.
denial so you can get justice.
Get denial so you can get
Yes, you need
explain.
denial. There is not an adequate
Right.
remedy at law, so you need to invoke equity,
Yes. Got it.
exclusive equity.
Got it. You can't go there until you're denied there first, until you're
Yes.
denied in the court first. Got it. Okay. Thank you to everybody viewing. Thanks for interacting with us. Thanks for your comments. And I am going to be giving one of our viewers an email today. She was so knowledgeable as well on this. Martin, thank you. And I know are you gonna come back and we talk about another topic another time, Martin? Do another live
No,
one?
let's continue this topic. We never finished. This is a long, extensive topic.
Oh my
This
God.
topic needs to be broken down.
Yeah. Games are played on a court. Exactly, Danny. Exactly. We get it. I just love our viewers
That's
who
like
are
what my
interacting.
hat says right there.
Game of life. You're right.
Yes.
Danny's right. Absolutely. We will continue. We will continue this conversation. Yes, Heather Antucci. I did see someone comment in there. She was arrested because she didn't do something right. I don't know.
Exactly. What'd
I
she
don't know.
do? She didn't correct her status first before trying to implement something she has a right to. She trying to overrun a privilege without establishing her again, she's an attorney. She's subject to the rules. How can you try to go against the rules you swear an oath to under the association?
Mhm.
Remember, a lawyer has three obligations: first to his association, second to his courtroom, and third is you. Maybe.
Maybe. Depends on how much you're paying him. And
Yeah,
if you're not paying him
exactly.
anything,
See,
get
and,
by.
and, and equity jurisprudence is still there for the rich, but it's not offered to the people on the street.
I know, Sally. Sally, I have never told my story, boy. And let me tell you something, folks. If you ever knew, I mean, Martin was in the courtroom with me. If you ever knew what goes on in these courtrooms, um, you would not want to reincarnate here again. I can tell you that because I certainly didn't. So thank you to everybody. Martin, then we'll be back for a part two.
Good.
Declaration of Independence part two, folks. So look for that. We're going
Send
to
your
announce that.
questions.
Yeah, get your
Answer.
questions
You know
ready.
what? That's what we might do next one is just
Yeah.
answer questions. Let's just,
It'll be a super chat Q&A. And we have to do that, folks. We cannot
Okay.
continue the channel if we don't have super chat donations. It's important. I think that we're going to, keep that going for a while and hope that we can keep the channel going that way. So thank you to everybody. Thank you for all your comments. Martin, thank you so much for being here. And we will be back with another another one of these wonderful um, educational series. I don't know. We'll have to come up with a name for it, like Winston and I did. Winston and I called it Country Roads, but I'll have to come up with I'll have to come up with another name.
Liberty without government.
Well, I don't want it to make it sound like we're anti-government.
No,
but
we're not. We're
no.
we're anti-corruptive government.
Yeah,
That's
we're
what we are.
anti-corruption. That's what Trump says
Yes,
all the time. Exactly. So, folks, thank you so much for joining us, and we will be back with part 2 of this conversation. Tell your friends about it. Tell them to tune in. I don't know what time and what day it'll be, but you know, you can go to our Facebook news page or our blog. You don't actually need to belong to anything to go to the blog. Maybe I'll announce it on the blog. I'll certainly announce it in my other reports. Yeah, maybe I'll just do that. I'll announce it on the blog. That way nobody has to like join, you know, one social media platform or another. You could just go to the goldfishreport.blogspot.com and I'll have it posted. You might have to scroll through it because I primarily post and report on the president. So you know that all those news releases are going to be there and all that information about the president's going to be there. I'll see if I can do something separate about this because we're going to need to do that. We're going to need to offer something different, you know, a way that folks can tune in and find out what day and time the live Q&As are going to be so they can tune in. So thank you so much, everybody. All the people, just love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. And Martin, this concludes this edition of the GoldFish Report. Thanks for joining.